Welcome to episode 54 of New Indian Woman podcast, airing first in late November 2021, and I'm your host Krishna. Hope you all enjoyed the last episode where we met Radhika Vardhan, who moved from a successful career in IT to setting up her own real estate firm, that too in the midst of the pandemic. We heard valuable tips from her on managing work and home and so much more. Today, we continue our exploration of women at workplace, but in the context of their home. When we hear about the so-called successful women in media, we always hear questions about how they manage the job and home. This question is never posed to a man though. And this is true not just in the Indian context. I'm always keen to know about how the day-to-day managing of a career and home happens. And this is definitely something I discussed with women of different work and age profiles. You may recollect these women. We had met them in an earlier episode on challenges at workplace. If I remember right, that was in episode 30 and 31. We will explore how they handle both work and home across 2 episodes again. First, let us meet the young women. What do they have to say about managing work and home? Today, let us welcome Ramya, a young IT professional working in Bangalore. She has been in the IT field for almost 5+ years, married. So we hear the phrase balancing work and home often only in the context of women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's as if we need to balance all of this, else one or the other may fall off. It's as if we are all holding this in multiple hands. And I have even seen such illustrations where they show some 10 hands and on one hand children, one hand house, one hand whatever.
True.
I have always felt curious about that picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I have different views on this. Leave my views.
Okay.
What are the top 3 things you do to manage work and home well as a woman?
Okay. In this case, the support that you get from your family plays a major role, I would say. Okay. So as you said, it's not household work is not something which is bound to be done by the women of the family. That's my viewpoint. So if you can convince, and for sure everyone will have that mindset, it takes time to change that. So at least if we can explain to our family or near and dear ones what are the pressure that we have in work, and in some way or other if we can convince them that it's nothing less than what the man of the family is going through, that really helps.
So the first thing, if I were to re-articulate, the first thing is to openly communicate and share the work challenges are similar to man and seek out help where required, or whatever support is required, state it out.
Yes. So, because see, when you are also bound to work for 10 hours or 9 hours, coming back and putting a picture of a perfect wife or a perfect daughter-in-law is very difficult. And I think, at least as per me, it's quite impossible. Divide the work. Divide it among all. If there are 3 family members, each of them can take a piece of work. Not necessarily all of them have to contribute equally, but even at least the chopping work or maybe a little bit of cleaning work can be shared by the husband or maybe the mother-in-law or any other family members. It is really a big part of relaxation for the women. So yes, I'm not saying that you get that support always, but as I told before, if you explain it and actually discuss the challenges you face in your professional life, it might bring a big difference in your personal life also. So that is one thing. Second thing is, one major thing is not always trying to put the picture of a perfect working woman. I mean, you cannot be perfect, so you don't have to try to be perfect. So sometimes you don't have to, you won't be able to cook. It's okay. Swiggy is there, Zomato is there. It's just that you can rely on other sources. So that is one thing. I mean, we should stop trying to be the perfect woman.
Don't create that image in your mind.
Yeah.
And look at what is practical.
What is, yeah, I mean, immediately after marriage, I think all of us will try to put that perfect wife or a daughter-in-law wala picture. I mean, but the thing that goes wrong over there is you can maintain that picture maybe for a year or a year and a half.
Long term, it's not feasible.
Long term is not feasible, so it's better to be, realistic, natural, and practical in the beginning itself.
Okay,
So
good one.
that will work out is what I feel, because anyone, even any human being, maybe mother-in-law or husband, for 1.5 years they see the perfect picture, and after that when things start falling apart, it might not be easy for them also to
Correct,
accept it.
correct.
So yeah,
Okay. And any top productivity tip from you?
for maintaining the balance,
Whatever comes. In the context of what we are discussing, what comes to your mind, you share.
communication, and we have to allocate time for our family also. Like, I know that maybe we'll be coming back from work at 10 o'clock and we'll be super tired. Rather than just going into the room and shutting the door, if we can just spend half an hour sitting with the family members who are at the home for the entire day, and sharing your experience, just from listening to them, it actually improves the bond.
I love someone stating communication as a productivity tip. Good. Let us listen to the views of Sri Bala, an IT professional in her late 20s and also a young mother of a 3-year-old. So we hear the phrase balancing work and home often, okay, only in the context of women. But what are the top 3 things you do to manage work and home well as a woman?
I would say in order to manage both, what I do is like at least in the work from home context, or like
When you were going for work, because this COVID time, let us leave it, let us park that, it is an in-between time frame. Generally, what are the top 3 things you did to manage work and home?
how I would frame is like, I was spending quite a lot of quality time with my toddler before I was like going to office. So what initially and all, what I used to do is like, as soon as I return back from home, I used to have some me time, like my personal time, like watching any serials or something like that. I would do, like in order to get that relaxation. But soon after, like having a toddler at home, I just wanted to ensure like when I come back home, each and every minute of mine should be spent with him. You understand? Like, at least like it should be with him, even though I am very tired and all, just to ensure like that connection between a mother and a child is not, lost, and he should not be deprived of anything just because I'm just going to office. I just wanted to ensure that is there.
Yeah, got it.
Spending my almost like all of my time at home with him in a good manner, I would say. That was the first thing. And then I try to do all the like household chores before he wakes up. Again, like I would say, it is also again just because I wanted to spend time with him. Like spending time with a toddler at home for a working woman is very difficult, because like they have to be at office for like close to 9 to 10 hours. Then again comes the traveling time, like, so it's very difficult. We just get hardly 2 hours. That is also difficult in few days, but I would say normal scenario. So I was always like considering this thing only, how to spend more and more time with my child. That was my only intent, I would say. That was the challenge which I faced at home, actually.
So, what about the household activities in terms of cooking, cleaning? Then there are so many other things, right? You need to buy things at the right time. You need to make sure the vaccinations are done at the right time, doctor visits, all those things which are there.
Yeah, I try to do before he wakes up. Like, I just do not want to, like, I would say at least the cooking kind of stuff which can be done, like beforehand, before he wakes up. I ensure like I complete it before he wakes up. And the other things, what I prefer is like, I just take him along with me, actually, like, so that at least during the travel time, going to the shop and all, like, I just try to, like bridge the gap that happens when I go to office, that time, like I just try to compensate for it, I would say. That way, that is my approach actually, like in
Okay.
order to, like compensate the time, in order to spend more time with my child.
Okay. What is your top productivity tip that you would like to share with the listeners?
If you're working for 9 hours, I would say it at office, manage or try your maximum to not I'm not say not to think and all, but not to like worry about your home stuffs and all. Like I would say completely like dedicate your time both physically and mentally. Only when you do, like when you pay 100% attention to your work, you'd be able to, like, doing a work just for the namesake is different from putting 100% efforts to it, right? So try to put your 100% efforts in it, into your work, at
Yes.
least when you're at office, that makes a huge difference.
Okay. You said that you have support to take care of the child, family support. Now, what, as per you, is the best childcare option available? And what has worked for you, you have shared, but did you actually consider other childcare options? Do you think there are enough childcare options for, in terms of people working in IT? From a financial, they still have the financial advantage that they could afford it. But even then, do you think there are good childcare options available in the cities?
I don't think so exactly, because that feeling of insecurity is there in most of the parents, I would say. Like leaving your child to childcare. Yeah, if you have no other option, then that is the only feasible option. But still, that sense of insecurity is there, like in every Indian parent, I would say.
Okay. So, what would your view be if there was a childcare option available in your office premise itself?
Yes, that would be great, because at least when you get at least a break or something, you can just pay a visit.
Yeah. So, we have smoking areas where people go out to smoke for a break, but we don't have an area where you can see your child. That is the reality. Is there one thing that you wish, whether it is your husband or the other people at home, who you feel should see you differently because you are working or you have a job?
I would say in this way, like I had this thing in my mind. Since I'm away from my child for the day, like I'll not be available to feed him the breakfast, lunch, or anything. So I was the one who have asked, like I would at least spend some quality time during dinner. Like then what had happened was, like, even when I come back from work at around 10 and all, so the situation was like I had to come and feed him, like it is a little difficult. So I would prefer at least they have to start thinking a little bit from our shoes, like
Right.
the day had been quite long, both in office, then initial, morning hours, we would have had our own household chores, and then coming back to 10, I would say, if I had not, if it was before having my child, I would straight away go to my bed and sleep, but we could not, we are not able to do it when we have a child, because we have to look after the night chores for him, you know
Yes.
and we have to do a little bit of household chores which would be pending for us.
Correct. Yes. So, a more understanding in terms of the fact that this person is coming back after so many hours, and
Absolutely
hence, how
correct.
could we make it more easier for her? Okay, fine. So now let us go on to views from someone who is working as a finance professional, leading a team in her late 30s, and she is also a mother of a 12-year-old and 7-year-old boys. So we hear this phrase of balancing work and home often, okay? What are the top three things you do to manage work and home well? As a woman, what are the three things you do? This is just to help the listeners, to hear many voices from people and to figure out, it may be a tip for them actually.
Okay. So, like, one thing is that once I'm back at home and and when I'm spending time with my kids, especially, I try my level best to just keep away everything back. Like whatever tensions or whatever workload, whatever is pending, whatever is troubling me, I just try to, keep away all that out of my mind and then come down to their level and just interact with them,
Okay.
that whatever little time I get with them every day. Because the problem is, like, if you keep anything of that back with you, then it'll be like you throw all your
Hmm.
irritation and anger, you may end up doing all that on these kids, right? So these are also lessons which I have learned from my own mistakes, where I've actually sat back and I've relooked at all these things, and I would say from what I was earlier to what I am now, there has been a drastic improvement.
Yeah, so that is the learning which I actually wanted to focus on sharing, because somebody else could, for them, it may be a tip and they could actually examine this kind of a thing much
Yeah.
earlier in life.
You mean what I said now?
Yes. So, in terms of, this is a learning. You look back at your activities and realize that, no, maybe I should do this. And that is a learning that based on your journey, right? So, somebody else may get benefited. Precisely the reason
Yeah,
for
correct.
this kind of a podcast
Yes.
episode. What else? So, this is one of the top three things. What are the two more things that you would like to share?
And I think this, what I explain now, actually, I think comes down the line. I think maybe, I'm not sure whether for everyone. I think as you mature, I think it comes to you, because initially, for me, it was like very difficult. Like, I used to come back home with that workload from office, and then when my kids,
Around what time? Maybe it is very important to share that also here.
yeah, so
Around what time typically?
when I reach back home,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe around 6:30, 6:30.
Okay.
So then I come home, and then they come running to us with a lot of excitement to share whatever happened
Right.
in school or whatever small thing.
Yeah.
But then, you're like, just leave me alone. All
Hmm.
that you do that. And then suddenly that entire mood in the house changes, then kids are also like dull. So when continuously such things were happening, actually I had to sit down with my husband, and then we decided that let us both just try to keep that away and sit down. What, even if it is the silliest of the silliest things, it actually makes a lot of difference for our kids. For them, it will be learning
Correct.
something very big, right? Which it may sound
Yes.
silly to us. So I've actually now decided, like, when I sit with them, just forget everything. For that little time, you forget your work, nothing is going to happen. So just sit with them,
Hmm.
enjoy, laugh, and do whatever they want you to do or they expect you to do. And then again, it
Right.
is all, I would say it is more like, putting another face, a cover on your face, so that your kids just don't realize it.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
may work only as long as these kids are small. Maybe down the line, it may not work also.
Yeah. So, so long as it works, good.
Yeah, correct.
Huh. Any other things that you want to share?
Other thing would be like, so it is more like with respect to work life balance, right? Okay. So I think this is something which has actually come up now, specifically during this COVID time, where we are all sitting at home now, including the kids,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So for me earlier, it was like, at home, me and my husband, both of us, like, everything should be in order. Even if a small thing is moved from left to right, unless it comes back to the proper place, actually we
Yeah.
can call OCD, right? So,
Right.
but then, since kids were most of the time in school, things were working fine. Now that all
Hmm.
of us actually end up at home, them being at home, we being at home, I've actually now decided, like, it's okay, it's good you close your eyes, because otherwise it's like,
I like the way you put it. It's good to close your eyes.
yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's like, already work related tensions, where with work from home, I feel, actually stress levels sometimes has increased, because nobody is having a count of any time anyone is available. That has now become the new
Hmm.
situation, because anyways you're working from home. So
Hmm.
with that
Hmm.
extra stress and burden, on top of that, going behind these things, because kids are also there morning to evening at home. So now
Yeah.
I've just decided that let it be. Nothing is going to happen. It's fine. Let it be the way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else in terms of managing both?
I think nothing else is coming to my mind, Chris. Yeah.
No problem. What would you say as the top productivity tip that you would like to share with people?
Uh, Productivity would mean more from, is it from work related or,
Whatever works, whatever makes your life more efficient and peaceful.
okay. I mean, if it is from a professional point of view, productivity definitely would mean like, giving you 100% shot at whatever you do,
Hmm.
right? The sense, like, whatever you think you are able to do and you take up a task, at least for that, give your 100% shot and do it.
Okay. And what do you struggle with? in terms of finishing work, whether it is at home or office? What is it that you struggle a lot with?
For me now, with this pandemic being around, for me the biggest what I struggle with is time management,
Hmm.
because I really I've reached that level where I feel 24 hours is also not enough now, because
Hmm.
like I told you, with the new culture which has developed, where since you're working from home, it's okay, I'll call you at 6 o'clock, I'll call you at 7 o'clock. You're not anyways traveling, right? You're sitting at home. This has become the new attitude with which people are looking at each other. So
Hmm. Hmm.
ultimately, what happens is like, be it 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, anytime you may be required to get into a call again. So everything actually, gets delayed. So I felt like time
Hmm.
management has now become a real challenge. Every day morning, actually, when I get up, I decide in my mind, okay, today by this time, do this, do this, do this. We do a lot of planning, but ultimately nothing happens. For
Okay.
me, I actually struggle with time management.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, as per you, is the best childcare option available? What option has worked for you?
For me, only one option has worked, Krishna. That was having full time maids when my kids were really small.
Okay. When you say full time, somebody who stays with you, right?
Yes, a live in maid.
Yeah. So, which
Uh,
also means, a lot of adjustments because there is suddenly a stranger living in your house who is not part of the family, but still you feel that is an option that has worked for you.
exactly, because actually, every, like how you say, every coin has two sides.
Hmm.
That decision you take in your life, okay, let a live in maid come, because parents, like in my case, my parents couldn't come and stay. Every now and then they come, but you cannot, tell them you give up your life and come here and be with my kids. And that was something which my husband had clearly told me. Neither will I say that to my parents, nor will you say that to your
Hmm.
parents. And because they let them live their life, they've already lived
Right.
half their life for us. Now the rest of the life, at least let them live peacefully.
Hmm.
So what we had decided was, like, I had tried out daycares. It didn't work for me because most of the time my kids were falling sick. And
Hmm.
daycares also have that problem, right? Like, if a child falls sick, they call you and tell, no, he's really sick. So I tried out everything. Nothing worked for me.
Hmm.
Finally, I decided, okay, if I have to continue my career and work, then I will need a live in maid. And like how you said, 100% I agree. It is like a total, intrusion into your privacy, because that person is there with you throughout, right? Be it
Yes.
all family matters, everything. But then again, it's a call which you have to take, like,
Correct, correct. No, but
whether you want to.
the reality is that regardless of whom you speak to, because as part of this podcast episode, recording it, I'm speaking to many people from different backgrounds, living in different parts. Okay,
Mhm,
but the fact that there is no quality childcare available, you know,
mhm,
or provided in the workspace, the
mhm,
work atmosphere, both of these are standing out to be big issues. We all knew that, but the general feeling is that maybe in better off places, in big cities, there are options available. The truth is that there aren't any options available. We are as good or as bad as 30 years back
mhm.
when we consider childcare options.
Okay, okay. Because I did explore few, nothing worked for me. Not
Yeah,
sure
this is
how
a
you.
story all the
Yeah,
time.
not
It is,
sure.
what I'm trying to say is with so many women in the workplace, it is time employers start thinking about something, and even people who want to set up daycare. Because why it is not working? I mean, if it is working in the West, why it is not working here? Maybe, yeah, some more research required there.
Yeah, correct,
Okay.
correct. So in my team also, like, we have had few people, few ladies who have just come back from who had just come back from their maternity last year. Uh,
Hmm.
Everyone has been highlighting the same challenge, and the only thing, like, the managers or whoever could help them was by giving them more flexibility. Come late to office, leave early.
Right.
To a certain extent, it may help them, but it doesn't really solve the real problem.
Correct, correct. Many public sector organizations I've heard of where, and even some of the IT organizations, etc., they have daycare options available in the office itself,
Mhm,
at least in those initial years
mhm,
when breastfeeding, etc. No, it really helps. But there is a challenge that after the child crosses 4 5 years, when they start going to school, those partial daycare options, even for some 10-year-old or 10 plus year old, do you really want to leave them alone in the house? What are the options available? If you ask me, the daycare options available are all for toddlers.
Exactly.
Later on, how do you manage is up to us, and it has become more and more complicated with so many devices. And how do you leave? Generally,
Exactly.
safety levels have come down, so what do you do? Is a serious issue.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what do you feel after listening to these friends? What would you like to share with women of this age group or this stage in life? What has been your techniques to manage the demands of workplace and home better? Do feel free to reach out to me at krishna@thenewindianwoman.com. And do not forget to share with your friends who may be able to relate to the points discussed in this episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast already, please do subscribe through the podcast app or the subscribe link you see wherever you're listening to this episode. Thank you once again. Remember, you are what you want to be, and the time starts now.